I heard him when he came through my window, but I frowned when I didn't hear his feet either heading to the shower or here to the bed. I opened my eyes. The clock read 3:15. I turned to look toward the window and shot out of the bed at the sight of Gideon sitting there underneath it, with blood on his shirt and hands and arms. "Gideon," I cried, falling to my knees at his side. With shaking hands, I checked for the wound or the wounds that caused so much blood. Something was wrong with him. He had a faraway look in his eyes, like he was seeing me, but he wasn't. He reached for me, pulling me close, and held me tight. Oh, he was shaking. "Gideon, baby, what's the matter? Are you hurt? Is this your blood?" "No," he said. "Baby, what's wrong?" He didn't speak. He just stared off into the distance, re-seeing whatever horror that had rendered him like this. "Come on, Gideon, let me help you." Together we got him up off the floor and to the shower. I helped him out of his clothes and into the steaming jets of the shower. Using the retractable shower head, I washed the blood off of him. He leaned both hands that were balled into fists against the shower wall in front of him, looking down at the drain as the hot water washed over him, rinsing away all the blood, lost in his memories of horror he had seen throughout the night. "Gideon, what happened?" I asked, as I took down his braids and washed his hair. But he didn't speak, so gone in his thoughts. My heart raced out of control. I had never seen him like this. It was as if his mind had gone into shock. What could he have seen tonight to cause such a response in him? His training with Lion had gotten intense. So intense that even Nuria said Lion was different. It was like they drew from each other, and they could not get enough. Nuria said she had never seen Lion so drawn into somebody he was training. The crazy thing about it was that Monroe and Dawid was right there with him. It was like somehow they had been bonded together that day when that Malakim came into the gym. Something had happened to them that day, and something had happened to Gideon tonight. When he got out the shower, he stood while I dried him off with a big towel, and then he scooped me up into his arms, carrying me to the bed. When we got in it for the first time, he didn't try to talk me into doing something with him. He just lay there, holding me. And y'all, he was still shaking. I put my hands on his chest, and I began to pray. "Dear Abba Yah, in the mighty name of Yahushua the Messiah, Father, please, Abba Yah, we pray for strength." So worried was I escaped into my prayer, sinking so deep into meditation with the Father, I didn't even notice when Gideon began to squirm underneath my hot hands. Abba Yah, he is your warrior. But Father, give him the strength to stand in the days ahead. Give him the courage to face the evils of this world. Abba Yah, sharpen your battle axe. When I came out of my meditation, the sun was beginning to rise. Gideon was out, sleeping the sleep of the truly exhausted. I laid my head on his chest, and then I too slept, wondering if, like Lion, Gideon was truly cut out for this work. But then after that night, something happened to him. Y'all, he crossed over. He began to pray every morning, no exceptions. Sometimes he would be on his knees before I even awoke. He ate up his scriptures. I had to force him to eat other food. If he wasn't training, he was reading those scriptures. He continued to study with my dad on Shabbats, but he did most of his studying with Lion. I watched him get stronger and wiser. It was like his eyes had been opened now, and now he was truly a powerful man. He had found Yah and had connected with his power. And then something amazing happened. Let me tell y'all about it. It was one of those slow days at the gym. Lion had shut it down for all but him and Gideon's warriors. A group of Gideon men had just arrived from the armory. From what I could tell, they worked in shifts, meaning some of them stayed here with Gideon while others went back to the army to make sure it continued to function the way that Gideon wanted it, and of course to be with their families. It seemed as if they were on a 2-week schedule because every 2 weeks another group would show up and another group would leave. Twice Gideon himself had to go back to the armory. Anyway, all his men rotated, all except 4: Lee, Jackson, Butch, and of course Monroe. They pretty much went wherever Gideon went, except at night when he came through my window at my father's house. Butch and Jackson had taken up residency in Gideon's basement. Lee, believe it or not, had managed to snag Ike Adams' sister Erica. They had courted for a short time, but then they had married, and they had a place not too far from ours. Erica was good for Lee. She made him want to be a better man, and Ike Adams was studying with him like Lion was with Gideon, so it was a win-win situation. Plus, when it came time to go back to the Dominican Republic, I would not be alone. I would have one of my Acotes with me. So I was super psyched about that. Anyway, like I was saying, we were having a chill day at the gym. I was sitting between Gideon's legs on the gym mat, where he had just grabbed me in his arms. I squealed because he had sweat all over him from where he had just been lifting weights, and now he was putting it on me. I tried to get out of his arms, but he wouldn't let me. "Gideon, that's nasty," I cried as he wiped his sweaty face all over my neck and hair. "Girl, you know you love my sweat." I told him. "Well, I love you." I froze. Did he just say what I thought he said? I was too afraid to breathe because maybe I had heard wrong. But if I didn't ask, I would never know, right? "What did you say?" I asked him, my heart beating fast. I said, his lips were so close to my ears, it caused shivers to run down my back. "I love you." Dang it, there go those tears. Through blurry eyes, I looked up at him. "Gideon, I love you too. So much." He leaned in and kissed me. I moaned when he deepened the kiss. "Damn it, boy!" Lion yelled from the ring where he was working with Monroe and Dawid with swords. I turned back around towards the ring and put my hand to my mouth to hide the laugh that was trying to escape through my lips. Lion was holding Monroe up in the air with one hand by his shirt collar. He shook him. "What is the matter with you? Why are you so damn reckless?" he yelled at him before he dropped him to his feet. Gideon chuckled. I shook my head. It was through the boys that you could see where Lion and Gideon differed. When it was Gideon working with the boys, he always yelled at Dawid for not going in for the kill. "What are you waiting on, boy?" he would tell him. And when it was Lion working with the boys, he always yelled at Monroe for being so damn reckless. The truth was, the boys were just like their fathers, all the way down to their looks, except where Gideon was the color of dark chocolate. Monroe was light, but he looked like a light-skinned version of his dad, with white hair, of course. He even started wearing his thick hair in braids like his dad. And Dawid was a younger version of Lion, almost to the teeth, except his long dreads were brown, thanks to his mother. I laughed to myself. The boys were getting the best of both worlds training with their dads. They had even given each other nicknames. Dawid called Monroe the Reckless, and Monroe called Dawid the Cautious. "Again," Lion said to them, as they went back to trying to cut each other's heads off with the swords. Over in the far corner of the gym sat Anataya and little Ginaya, who watched her sister teach herself how to play that beautiful guitar that Monroe had recklessly snuck into Ty's room. Oh my goodness. We thought Lion and Dawid was going to kill that boy that night. Reckless, that Monroe was. Reckless indeed. He had scaled her window much like his father did my window every night, and had awakened her with the gift. When she saw it, she squealed in delight. Monroe reached to cover her mouth, but it was too late. The little peep that had escaped was enough to wake Dawid, who got up and ran into her room. When he saw Monroe, it went down. Lion came in shortly after. Nuria called my phone and told me to come quick. She said poor Monroe was fighting for his life. But by the time we got there, Lion had calmed down, and he had Monroe sitting downstairs in the gym, where he was giving him a lecture out of this world. Nuria said she was amazed that the boy had managed to fight off Dawid and dodge Lion's hands at the same time. She said he ran up walls and windowsills, places where Lion could not reach him. But Dawid, who also knew how to do the free run, chased after him, where Monroe would fight him off, only to be knocked into Lion's range again, where he would have to quickly scramble away. She said she laughed the whole time, only to later receive a stern lecture from Lion as well. Gideon was so mad when we got there. He picked up Monroe by his collar and shook him much like Lion had just done in the ring. Poor Monroe. Everybody thought he was a Looney Tune. But I knew my boy. His heart was in a good place. I just prayed it stayed there, cause I ain't gonna lie and say I'm not worried at the fact that he wasn't very balanced. Bad things could happen with folks like that. If ever he decided he didn't want to walk with Yah anymore, he would become a very dangerous man, and not in a good way. No doubt about that. But after everything had settled down that night, Lion turned to Ty, who was still clutching that beautiful guitar in her hands. "Give it to me," he said, holding out his hand. Monroe stiffened from where he stood next to his father. He made a move like he was going to I don't know what. But Gideon grabbed his arm in a death grip, holding him in place. Ty shook her head at her father. "No, Daddy, it's mine." Big tears came to her eyes. Lion's nostrils flared, cause I don't care how big or how tough you are, no man could see those kind of tears in his daughter's eyes and not be affected. "Baby, bring it to Daddy. You can't keep it." "Why not? It was a gift. It's mine. It was made just for me. It's my very own," she cried, now hugging the guitar so close to her body. Lion exhaled, dropping his head. He had lost. He knew it. He looked up at Nuria for help. She walked over to Ty instead and hugged her close. "Lion, I don't see what's the big deal. It's just a guitar." "Just a guitar? She's 12. Way too young for some boy," he shot angry eyes at Monroe, "to be giving her gifts." "But Monroe is my friend," Ty cried. "Lion, man. Look, man, I am so sorry about this," Gideon said, apologizing for the umpteenth time. I reached down and I held Monroe's hand. He squeezed it. I could feel his body shaking in rage. I looked up at him and was surprised to see his signature goofy grin on his face. And y'all, that is when I realized something about that smile of his. Sometimes smiling faces told lies. "Dad, just let her keep it. If you take it from her, you know she gonna turn into a little witch and make all our lives horrible," Dawid said, picking up chairs that had gotten knocked over in the fight. Lion exhaled. He turned to look at Monroe again, pointing a finger at him. "Boy, don't do nothing like this again, or I promise it ain't a place you can hide that I won't find you and break you, you hear me?" Still smiling, Monroe slowly nodded his head, squeezing my hand slightly tighter. Anyway, that had been quite a night. But I guess to Monroe it was worth it, because Ty never went anywhere without that guitar. If she wasn't holding it in her hands, it was strapped to her back with that beautiful strap he had bought to match it. Nuria said she had to force the girl not to sleep with it at night. But from the slightly choppy melody that was coming from the other side of the gym, it sounded as if she was, in fact, teaching herself how to play it quite well. I snuggled back into Gideon's arms, and I was just about to ask him to tell me he loved me again when Felix opened the basement door. Boss, can I see you for a minute?" he said. "Yeah." Gideon stood, bringing me to my feet as well. He kissed my neck. "I'll be right back, baby." I smiled as he walked toward the basement door. Lion let Gideon and his men run their operations from the basement, while he and his men ran their operations from the upstairs office. "Hey, Lion," Big Eye called from inside the inside balcony that looked over the ring. Lion looked up at him from where he was showing the boys something about holding the sword. "Can you come up here and take a look at this art?" Lion nodded. He gave a few more instructions to the boys before he grabbed the ropes and leaped over. He took the stairs up 3 at a time. Inhaling, I looked around the gym at my family. Nuria was in the kitchen with Elder looking at some seeds he had brought for her from Trinidad. The boys had now dished the swords and was rolling around in the ring fighting. As usual, Shlomo and Stormy was looking over some papers that involved the forever problematic community center that Stormy girl loved. And Ataya, who was now playing a soothing melody from her guitar, Lee whispered something in Erica's ear that caused her to giggle and hit him in the chest. Butch, Jackson, and Dania sat on the side cleaning their guns, arguing about who was more skilled with the weapon. Micaiah, the loner, sat at the table reading his scriptures, his sword never too far from him. Dino was showing 2 of Gideon's men his latest explosive devices that looked like matchsticks. All in all, it felt good to be here with the family. I was just thinking how peaceful the day was when King, who had been sprawled out in the ring, lazily watching Monroe and Dawid put each other in headlocks, suddenly stood and let out a monstrous roar, so loud that everybody just stopped what they were doing to look at him. Seconds later, he let out another. Big Ox shot down the stairs and to that room where the Ox stored their weapons. My heart started to beat real fast as Nuria came quickly out of the kitchen and ran toward her girls. "Come on, y'all, let's go upstairs." She took them through the kitchen and up the back stairs. Right then, Lion walked slowly down the stairs, adjusting those bands on his arm. When he looked up at us, the light that came from his eyes caused my knees to buckle. He looked at us without seeing us as he made his way to the table where his sword sat. The other Ox were already in motion preparing for war, even Dawid and Monroe. They had done this before. Dawid and Lion's men many times before. The basement door opened, and Felix and 3 more of Gideon's men stumbled out, looking back at them in astonishment. A bright light filled the door space. I put my hand to my chest as my heart just seemed to stop. Gideon walked up the stairs and through the door, that bright light shining from his eyes. "Dear Yah," I cried. Right then, a piercing howl filled the gym. Wolf, who walked beside his master, stopped and held his head back, and he let out another piercing howl. The Ox, who had grown used to seeing that light coming from Lion's eyes, stopped and stared at Gideon in astonishment, who slowly walked in the room, looking around but not seeing anyone, no longer in control of his own body. My knees gave out then. I sunk to the floor. Monroe ran to me and helped me up. "Go upstairs, Emar," he cried. I couldn't walk as I stared at my husband, who had become a vessel for Yah's Ruach. "Oh, Yah!" Monroe scooped me up in his arms and carefully carried me upstairs. "I have her. Go ahead," Nuria said as Monroe put me on my feet, before he shot back out the door. I stared at Nuria, still unable to move. Gideon had become a vessel. Minutes later, the sound of those drums filled the gym, and then King's roar that was followed shortly by Wolf's howl. Seconds later, Lion let out a roar that shook the walls, followed by Gideon, who let out a roar that was so filled with rage, filled with wrath, Yah's wrath. My knees gave out again. Noya helped me to the couch. I looked up at her through tears. Both men let out another one of those rage-filled roars as the war drums beat. Shivers raced through my body because something had just become so crystal clear to me. These men were battle axes. These men were Yah's weapons of war. And wherever they go, they are going to leave a wake of destruction behind them.